In this week's episode of Rough Fairways, professional golfer Matt Crockett joins the pod and shares what mini tour life is like in Asia.
He shares his Trackman data, sports heroes, what he learns from other players, and you don't want to miss his take on recent rule changes.
Come on in and join us next on Rough Fairways. Anyways, he's Matt Crockett, a professional golfer living in Phoenix, Arizona, from Hackettstown, New Jersey. Are you playing out of a club in down in Phoenix?
Currently, I am playing out of Seville Golf and Country Club. It's in Gilbert.
Nice. How come you don't? How come you're not at Whisper Rock like everybody else?
You know, that's a tough cookie to try to get up there right now. One day.
You just got to get in with Gary McCord and you're set.
I'll get up with Gary McCord, a couple of the PGA Tour guys, and just work my way up through the ranks.
Hey, your LinkedIn profile says aspiring young professional golfer working his way to the PGA Tour one step at a time. Describe that first step.
Oh, that first step, in my opinion, has to be just the dedication. You want the drive to put in the hours, the time, the trials, the tribulations. Going through a heartache, but just to start getting the ball rolling. There's going to be changes along the way. There's pressures that you have to deal with, but just wanting to go out there, wanting to compete, putting yourself on the line, and it's a very, very interesting road to say the least. And it's never changing. It's just different every single day.
So how young were you when that road started, when you started getting that drive and wanting to go that direction?
Oh, man. So that was 9 years ago, and I'm 31 now, so about 22. But I didn't take golf seriously until probably until I was about 20, 21.
Did you play as a kid during high school, college?
I did. I played throughout high school, and I can actually kind of attest some of my game to a senior. He beat me my freshman year. And I didn't like the fact that he beat me, and kind of went to mom and dad and asked them that I needed some lessons to get better. And that kind of just, the ship started from there.
Nice. So you got that, you had that competitive drive by losing.
Oh, of course. Yeah. Before it was always team sports. So I played soccer, basketball, baseball growing up, was a pretty good athlete. And then once I started playing golf, like I said, it just that one loss is all it took. And then after that, I never lost to him again. And kind of the rest is history after that.
Nice. You played in college?
I tried playing at Spokane Falls Community College, and then I was there for a year. And then I went over to Washington State and was on the travel team. Not the travel team. I was just on the practice squad and got put on academic probation, so I was never allowed to play. But had some fun over there, and then eventually made the switch and moved down to Arizona.
Was that after you graduated, or did you switch schools?
No, I ended up moving back down to Yakima, and then ended up just kind of started working, moved from part-time to full-time, and then just eventually started moving down this way, looking for tournaments and whatnot to play in. Up in Washington, we'll say the golf windows, you're only playing golf,
right.
7 months out of the year.
Right.
8 months if you're really lucky. So I started kind of looking at my options and where the mini tours and competitiveness was. And that was either going to Florida, Arizona, or at the time, California. And Arizona, I didn't really know anybody down there, but I knew people from Arizona that went to the golf academy. And they kind of gave me some spots to practice and play at, and just kind of got mixed up with the right people and just started taking off from there.
What was it like on your first tee on the big tournament?
So that's actually an interesting one. I couldn't tell you actually the first professional event, besides it was a mini tour event, but I can tell you that the first Q school that I played in, which is over in Thailand, I'll never forget that. Did the whole week preparing, and the first hole in Hua Hin was a par 4 that was about 300 and I want to say about 65, 70 yards. It was downwind about, I want to say 25. And on my notes, I had 5 wood. And I stand up to the first tee, they call your name. And I put my 5 wood down, and I swear that head looked Like it was about the size of a quarter. And my hands are shaking, and I looked around and my coaches weren't there. I looked around, I'm like, I think I'm going to miss the golf ball. So I go back, I put the head cover on my 5-wood, I pull my driver out, and I'm like, well, the face is big enough, I can't miss this. And I'm standing over the golf ball, and you can feel that, like the weightless feeling, the
Right.
nerves start taking over, and I'm shaking a little bit. And so I get up, take a big deep breath, set my stance, look at the hole, and I hit it. And I mean, I absolutely just sent the golf ball. Landed at the back edge of the green and went over almost into the jungle. And I was like, whoa. And then I ended up actually making birdie on the first hole, and then just kind of prolonged it from there. But yeah, I'll never forget that feeling standing over it's almost weightlessness, almost feeling like I don't have control. But I practiced so much since I did practice so much that it was very, very easy to somewhat get that under control.
Yeah, you remember that feeling. You're like, I've done this 1,000 times. It's just now that it matters, it's really the same thing. Same swing, same thought process. That's good.
Yep.
Were you traveling a lot over there at that time? Like what made you decide to go over there first? Was there more opportunity over there, more chances to play in little events to kind of, cut your teeth? What made that decision?
So I ended up getting together with some coaches down here, and their, I guess, kind of thought process looking back at it now was, we ended up kind of looking at going, if a lot of the top Asian ranked players are coming over and here and playing, why don't we do the opposite? Why don't we go that way? At the time it was web.com. So a lot of the players were trying to go through web to PGA. They looked at it the other way. What's another big market that we could go to that's different? So we got together and we looked through Asia Q schools and traveled over to Thailand, going over there for Q schools, for traveling out there for almost a month, because you got to fly in, get prepped, 2 stages, different world, different environment, different food. Traveling over there's different because you can't read signs. You have to be really, really good at planning your trip out, making sure people are picking you up. So on and so forth. And I was lucky enough that I got with a really, really good group of guys, and we got some players and traveled over there for a little while.
Nice.
And it was a remarkable experience. Some really, really great memories. Nothing really beat it, to be truly honest. I mean, I was out there playing a game that I loved. Travel was quite interesting. It was very, very long. Living out of a suitcase. I mean, yeah, it's kind of hard to even describe, to be truly honest.
How close were the events, geographically speaking?
Well, with Asia, you're hopping around. You're flying from continent to continent.
Okay, so you're flying. You're not in a car.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
No. Now, when I was in China, that was a little bit different. China, I spent more time in China than I did in Thailand. When I was in China, you go over there for about 2.5 months, and then come back for 3 weeks, and then go back over. But from there, you're either flying around, either kind of like if you would in the States, you're hopping around on planes, or you're taking the bullet train from stop to stop.
Right.
Wow.
How much was your first check?
Oh, the first check I ever made was about $1,500.
Awesome.
How you like in Phoenix now?
Oh, it's beautiful down here. I mean, the summers are hot, don't get me wrong.
Sure.
But, I mean, I moved down here for the weather. I moved down so you can play golf all year round. You can't beat it. Desert golf's a little bit different. With used to being up in the Pacific Northwest, up in Washington, a lot of the golf courses are cut throughout the trees. It's easier to see shot shapes because, the dog leg is very pronounced. Whereas down here in a desert course, it's very flat and wide open. I mean, if you go up a little farther up north, it's different. But down here, you have to be a lot more creative with seeing things. It's almost, I'd rather say, like boring. You do get 2 different grass types for the years, or throughout the year. You got, we'll say, Bermuda in the summer, and then during the wintertime, we do an oversea and we have rye. So we do have a lot of different grass types that we kind of mess around with. Whereas up in Washington and California and whatnot, you're kind of sticking with one grass type. So we do get a little bit of variety that way. But But I mean, golf down here it's almost like a mecca in a sense. Can't remember how many golf courses we have per square mile, but it's crazy.
It's a lot.
Probably a couple hundred golf courses. There's so much variety to hop around and look at and play. That's why you see like a lot of the guys that have winter homes down here, so you can play golf all year round. You can't really beat it, to be truly honest.
What's the
and
mini
it doesn't
tour?
snow.
Yeah, that's true. What's the mini tour down there right now?
So the mini tour that you'd be playing down here right now, it's transitioned to the Outlaw Tour. When I first got down here, there was the Gateway Tour. There was Pepsi Tour. There was a Dream Chaser Tour. So there was about 3 or 4 tours that you could play on. And then with everything that's kind of happened in the last couple of years, funds have dropped out. Just the tours themselves have just changed. Then you had.
Yeah, how come? Or how have they changed?
Well, for one, just like almost in a sense, like payout purses are just different. Beforehand, when Gateway was first a thing, when I first came down here, I mean, you'd start with almost 2 courses, and then you play 18 on one, 18 on the other, and then you'd condense it down, so you can make a good check playing those. Now you're looking at, if you could get 30, 40, 50 guys in an event, that's pretty big for a mini tour. Whereas before, they were getting upwards of 200 players. Entry fees were closer to like $1,200, $1,300. Entry fees now are like 500. We were playing different golf courses back then than we are now. A lot of that has to do with a lot of the courses don't want to give up those tee times. They'd rather just have the flat out revenue through public play.
Wow.
So the game has definitely changed. Not having, we'll say, like title sponsors or anything like that are adding into the purse. We do have a lot of people now going to like the Swing Thought Tour. So then they actually have sponsors that are putting money into the prize fund and everything else. And we don't really have that down here. We'll have a couple big events here and there. But outside of that, it's different now. A little bit harder on the mini tour level. If anything, you use it more for keeping that competitive edge.
Yeah.
And getting ready for Q school, or finding something to play in between, we'll say first and second stage, or even once third stage comes around.
Have you played in any events this year?
I haven't played in anything this year. I was going to play in the Nevada Open, which I want to say was 6 or 7 weeks ago, but I ended up hurting my wrist and I ended up making some swing changes. So I haven't been competing much as of lately.
Yeah.
Have you played in any Monday qualifiers?
I haven't done any Mondays in the States, but I've done Mondays in Asia, and then I've also done some Mondays over in China as well. And that's just a completely different animal. Your mindset is different. Whereas before, if you're playing a 4-day event, I mean, you could almost, in a sense, shoot yourself out of it on the first day. So you're playing a little less aggressive, moving your way through. Whereas a Monday, you're going out and almost, in a sense, you're attacking every single flag. You're positioning yourself around the best you possibly can. And I mean, especially I can only imagine out here for like getting into a web event or even Mondaying into a PGA event. I mean, guys are shooting 63 and not getting in. You got to shoot 60, 62, 61.
Wow. Ridiculous.
It's crazy. The talent now that's coming up these days it's quite impressive, to be truly honest.
Is it harder to be successful to make money at playing professional golf now than it was 10 years ago because of the depth of fields?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay. So guys are like, why are guys getting better? We don't. Is there just more guys play? Like, is that an indication that the game is growing, or guys are just getting better and they see? Obviously, Tiger Woods, he did so much for golf and for sponsorships and purses and everything. But like, why is it more difficult to be successful playing golf right now than it was 2010, 2005?
I'd say back in the day, I mean, I was a 3-sport athlete growing up.
Yeah.
And now we're getting these kids that are coming up that eat, live, and breathe golf.
And that's
They're
it.
starting.
Yeah.
They're starting at such an early age, and it's. I mean, when I was growing up, I wasn't doing certain drills or practicing or preparing. I guess now with the knowledge that I have, if I would go back and do it differently, I would. But you got these kids now where all they do is they play golf all day, every day. I mean, they also obviously they're going to school too, but
Sure.
I mean, they start at such an early age of doing certain drills and putting themselves in under pressure situations. But then you ask them, you're like, "Oh, did you play basketball?" They're like, "No." "Did you play soccer?" "No."
Right.
You've just been playing golf. So the world has changed in that regard. Plus, you're getting these kids out now coming out, or even in college. I mean, Tiger. I mean, obviously, Tiger, in my opinion, revolutionized the game. He was the first professional golfer that actually worked out. Most guys weren't working out back in the day. They spent more time in the pub, kind of hanging out.
Tim Herron, Craig Perry,
and playing.
Yeah.
John Daly.
And now,
shout out JD.
Which phenomenal talent.
Yeah.
But you had Tiger with his mentality, and you get him working out, and he's getting stronger and faster than everybody else.
But Matt, is that hurting the game? Are guys wanting to be too cut and look really good on the golf course, and they care more about that than they care about their golf swing? Like, look at Bubba Watson. That guy hasn't worked out. I mean, he works out. Don't get me wrong, but he's not like a Rory McIlroy that hits the gym and you can see their biceps and you can see their pecs. And Tiger was the guy that made the gym cool. And you look at Brooks Koepka, but then you look right next to Brooks Koepka and you see Justin Thomas. He's 5'9", $160, soaking wet, and he murders the ball. So, is the gym hurting golf?
I don't think it's hurting it whatsoever. I think if anything, it's adding to it. Guys are starting to see now, if they work out certain and particular muscles, they can hit the ball farther. They can alleviate injuries. They can prolong their career. So it's quite interesting. I mean, you get Bryson did something crazy. He said what he was going to do, and he got in and he basically started powerlifting, and he bulked up, and he did it the right way. But we also now have figured out within the last, we'll say 10 years, what muscles are actually used in the golf swing. Before, we didn't know what muscles were used in the golf swing. You just went to the gym and worked out. You didn't know what fast twitch muscles, in a sense, we were using.
Right.
What were the major components of the swing? Granted, we knew about ground force, but now people are, working more their legs out more than anything. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying having big biceps and everything is going to make you look cool, but I don't want to say there's any proof in the pudding of saying having big biceps is going to have you hit the golf ball farther.
Yeah.
Right.
Or so even just being big.
What do you think about distance in the game? Everyone's complained about the courses are too long. Guys are shooting 25 under. I mean, what do you think about everybody? Not everybody, but there's that complaint out there that we got to roll the equipment back, make the balls different. Are you a guy that says if you're going to work for it, go get it?
I'm a guy that says if you're going to work for it, go get it. I was lucky enough that my first golf instructor, in a sense, taught me hit it as hard as you can and go find it. I'll teach you how to hit it straighter later on down the road, but I want you to hit it as far as you possibly can. And then we'll learn how to dial it back or even dial it up if we have to.
Sure.
So that's how I learned. Just go hit it, go find it, hit it again. I play caveman golf, see ball, hit ball.
There you go. That's the exact opposite of how Max learned it. Well, our first guest, Max Turnquist, one of Kevin's students. I'm like, hey, what can you impart to the younger generation? He's like, work on your short game. You can hit it. You can hit it far later. And that's what I love about golf. You learned it this way. He learned it that way. And you guys are both successful. Right.
And Max, phenomenal player.
Nice kid.
Watched him as I got older. He's blossoming into a pretty awesome young man.
Yeah.
And like I said, he went different, and his short game's off the charts. In a sense, I learned how to get myself around the greens and get up and down. But it was funny because in the beginning, I never practiced. In the very, very beginning, I never practiced. I would go hit a couple range balls, and I just go out and play. And then once I started getting into it, it was like, oh, you had to practice putting. You have to practice short game. You have to practice bunker play.
Oh,
how to hit
I do
high.
have to hit the ball in the hole. Dang it. I can't just nail the ball 300 yards.
I have to score somehow.
Are you one of the longest guys in your group typically? Like when you and the boys go out?
Oh yeah. So
you're always
I was
last into greens.
Oh yeah. No, so I was on the range 2 days ago, and one of my buddies, Colton, he looked at me and goes, "Hey, hit one hard for me real quick." And I was like, "Okay." And I hit it, and my driver made this noise, like a poof. And he goes, "I think you popped your driver." Well, there's a crack on top of my ping head about, I don't know, 4.5 inches long. So I just popped my driver head, and he goes, "Wow, that was impressive." I was like, "Well, now I'm out of driver for right now, so that's great." But yeah, I was kind of known for that kid growing up that like I would break at least 1 or 2 drivers a year.
Are you a stats guy? Like, do you care about numbers? Do you have a launch monitor and everything?
So I'm not like an overly analytical guy. I do know some of my numbers. I know my ball speed. I know my carry yardages. So the highest ball speed I ever had was 192.
Okay.
But my average ball speed on Trackman right now, I'm around the 182 to 184 number, swinging it at about a 122 to 125.
Good. What's your carry with your driver?
Right around 305.
Nice.
It's cold. It's getting colder down here in Arizona right now, so you're probably I'm losing it.
Oh, blame it on the weather. Blame it on the weather.
295. But then you go the opposite and it gets to 115. Well, then the golf ball goes forever. It just doesn't stop.
I walk into your house. How long does it take me to know what you do for a living? If I look around and I'm like, oh, this guy's how long does it take me?
I'm going to say 10 seconds.
You just got like one of those, ball shrines or something? Or you got any trophies hanging out? Or you walk in and go, this guy's a golf pro?
Oh, you walk in and I have a couple staff bags that have probably about 40 golf clubs in it. Like over the years, I used to, when I was getting clubs, I'd kind of trade them in and or sell them to friends or give them away. And then it got to the point where I was like, no, I'm going to start kind of collecting things. And so, I have sets that are 6-7 years old now that I'll just hold on to, or same thing with putters. I just kind of started turning into a collector, shall I say.
6-7 years old. That's newer than my clubs.
I have like 15 putters, but I've only been putting with like one putter for the last, 7.5 years. And that's for some reason, even if I find something new, I go back to the same old trusty girl every single time.
There you go. It's like Tiger Scotty. See, there's a love
thing.
I think golfers have a love affair with putters.
I'd say love affair. You could say even like superstitious.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
Almost all the above. Right.
Right.
But I also am the type of guy where I do like to change it up. I normally putt with a blade, and every once in a blue moon I'll pull a mallet out, and then I'll just go and I'll go on the putting green, just putt with it for 45 minutes just to kind of tease my brain a little bit. Just switch things up. I won't even play with it. I'll just putt with it for 45 minutes, throw it back in my locker, and then put my other putter back in the play, and then go out and play. But always just kind of keeping myself on edge, just keeping it a little bit different.
You sound like you're a feel player since you're not an analytical player much. Do you do like fairways and greens and regulation? Do you keep those? You just hit it, find it, whatever the score is, add them up at the end, and that's that.
Yep.
Cool.
Yes, sir.
Cool.
What kind of sports do you like outside of golf?
I was a massive, massive, massive basketball player growing up. I still play soccer every once in a blue moon, but for the most part, it was mainly basketball. I was a baseball kid too. That's probably where I got some of my hand-eye coordination from when I was younger, but basically just basketball. I'll still go to the parks around here every now and then and hop on the asphalt court and put my old body out there and wake up the next day and I'm like, man, I haven't used any of these muscles in a long time.
My Achilles hurts for some reason today.
My legs hurt. Like I haven't moved left and right like that. The golf swing doesn't make me do that, but it's fun. I like getting out there and, getting back into team competition rather than just having that solo individual life.
Who were your sports heroes growing up?
So my sports hero growing up, believe it or not, I mean, everyone always is like, Tiger, 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 which I am a Tiger fan. But Payne Stewart was my guy. And Freddie Couples being from, or shall I say, growing up in Washington was Freddie. But for me, it was definitely Payne Stewart. I mean, I had the golf, I had the hat, I had the knickers, I had the socks.
Nice.
I had the whole 9 yards. Granted, I would wear the hat backwards because I thought that thing looked really, really cool.
Sure.
But it was Payne Stewart, and I'll never forget when he won, what was it? The 99?
99, yeah.
Over there at Pinehurst. And, there's the statue there. I'll never forget sitting in my dad's office watching that with him. And when he made that putt, I remember jumping up and screaming. And then, that's a great fond memory. But that's who I basically, in a sense, idolized. And I think a lot of it had to do with his apparel and what he wore.
Yeah.
He was known as one of the guys with the biggest wardrobes out there. And I was when I dressed, it was like very bright, very vibrant colors for the most part.
Ball striker too. I don't think Payne really was known for his ball striking, but man, he just had such an easy look and swing. It really matched his personality. Yeah, for sure.
Very, very fluid.
So do you have a workout routine at all? Let's go back to the gym. Yeah. Okay.
I did. I had one for the longest time. But with COVID happening, when the gym shut down, I've been out of the gym now for about 9 months probably. But I mean, I had it set down to different days. So almost for, one day is legs and then one day is back, shoulders, bis, tries. I mean, trying to keep myself well-rounded. But for the most part, it was a lot of med ball throws, a lot of core trunk work, stability stuff, a lot of one-legged stuff, half kneeling squat, or not squats, but half kneeling rotations, learning to almost in a sense like brace yourself. So pressurizing your canister and just a lot of leg work, powerlifting. When I'm trying to get bigger, it's really hard during the season to do a lot of powerlifting.
Yeah.
Just because of how sore you get. So that's why you see Bryson when he's doing what he's doing, he'll go and he'll hit the gym, I'm assuming, very, very hard for those first 2.5, 3 weeks when he takes that extended amount of time off.
All right.
And he'll bulk up for those first 2 or 3 weeks. And then those next, we'll say 1.5 to 2 weeks, he's doing probably a lot of more fine motor, fast twitch and overspeed training. So that way he's giving his body ample time to recover, but he's also adding speed at the same time. But most guys these days are just throwing med balls around or just throwing weights, anything and everything. And then a byproduct is obviously looking good.
Of course. Absolutely.
So you're 31. How does the next 5 years look for you? We had Max on and he's a lot younger. And so his path towards trying to make the tour obviously is a lot more different than what you have. So are you still hoping to make tours? I mean, what's your goal in the next 5 years, being a little bit older and having the experience that you've already had?
At the age I'm at, I've had that, do I stop? Do I keep trying? Kind of putting myself through the ringer. And I'll probably keep chasing it for probably another year or two. And also looking for, there's always looking for other outs, just having options.
Yeah.
But I say that I'd ever stop, I'd just be, I can't say that. Never would.
Sure.
But, I'll probably, it'd get to one of those ones where if I ever got to the point where I couldn't be competitive, even in anything, even if it's just getting into a skins game and I can't do it, or coming up and meeting one of you guys and playing you guys for $5 and I'm just kind of, whatever happens. But there's something just inside of me where even if I am playing for $2, all of a sudden the mind state changes. The mental edge just all of a sudden something clicks.
Drive, yeah.
Something clicks and all of a sudden it just goes from you hone in and all of a sudden it's just like, all right. But I mean, obviously with COVID going on, I would have loved to go to a Q school this year and I had every intention to, but with COVID happening, all the all Q schools came to a stop.
It. I thought
they canceled
so.
all of them, which they would have to. They rolled everybody that had status. They basically, in a sense, rolled it over, pushed everybody through.
Yeah. Do you have any status?
No.
Okay. So are they going to, so Q school is typically January. Are they going to, since they, do they stop them for next year too?
So Q schools would be coming up this year, and
okay.
they're done. So it's almost moving into 2021, almost 2021/2022.
Right.
So depending obviously what happens, European Tour Q school, their first one would probably be, granted their first stage is, I want to say they have 10 to 12 locations. So your first one would probably be in September, would be your first stage. And then same thing with Asia. Asia, your first stage is usually in December. And then Web kind of follows right along with European Tour.
How many stages is over in Asia?
Asia is 2 stages.
Okay.
2 stages. You're usually over there for about a month. So you go through, fly in, you're there getting adjusted. Takes usually about a week. You have your first stage, you then have a week off, and then you go into your final stage. So you're over there for almost a good 23, 24 days.
Wow.
What's the talent level like over there? Is it just as hard to qualify over there than it is here, or is the talent pool a little less?
No, it's probably about the same. One thing that I guess I noticed that was kind of weird in Asia was you get these kids that, someone will find somebody on the range that goes, I want to invest in your future. You're going to go to school, but for the most part, you're going to be playing golf. And at a very, very, very early age, they're putting him in that atmosphere. And now you're getting almost like academies built, right? Whereas before you had like academy soccer teams. Well, now you're getting these academies that I don't want to say are pumping out golfers, but they're getting in that competitive atmosphere. Whereas before it was, you got to have a player and then you have a coach. The coach and the player get together and then they work together and then they go compete. Whereas now you're getting academies built to get there where this coach ended up having, 15, 20, 30 players, and it's very, very specialized. And wow. the kids are growing from that because they're with other golfers in a sense doing the same thing or pursuing for the same thing. So they feed off each other. And then I don't want to say like at a very, very early time, you'd be able to know not which ones are going to make it or succeed, because that's not right. But you definitely can kind of tell which ones are going to kind of keep running with it and other ones kind of slow down, if that makes sense.
Yeah. What do you learn from watching other players, whether it be your peers on tour over in Asia, here on TV?
The big thing for me was how they handle themselves. When they hit a bad shot, how do they act? What I like to call, what are their tendencies? Golfers we are very into routines. So some person might have a routine that they do, and I'm sitting there just kind of watching. Maybe it's their footwork, how they walk into a shot. They're putting their right hand on the club and walking in and putting the ball down, and then they look at the hole, and then that's how they line themselves up. We all have different ways of doing things, and you can be playing with someone that just strikes the ball phenomenally, and you're sitting there going, what are you doing that you're hitting it better than I am right now? Because we're always looking for something to make us better.
Right.
The big thing, like, DJ, he, from an emotional standpoint, he's just even keeled. He makes a birdie or he makes a bogey or he makes a par. You get the same reaction.
Right. Yeah.
Whereas you get somebody else that you get those guys that ride the highs, and then all of a sudden you get so high, and then you make a mistake and all of a sudden you crash. And learning how to deal with that, just seeing how all players do it differently.
So what separates a really good golfer on a mini tour from a PGA pro?
In my opinion, it's literally their missing it and how they can start the golf ball. If you can start the golf ball within, we'll say like a 3-inch window right out the gate, I mean, your misses are smaller. That means you're going to be aiming at a flag, and if you pull it, you're going to miss it 5 to 10 feet, maybe to the left.
Yeah.
Or if you start at, just outside right, same thing. Whereas, You get somebody else that like a mini tour player that maybe can't score as well, and that's because he can't start the ball just in that window. Yeah. But most of the guys on the PGA Tour, they start within their window. That's why they're there.
And you mean that by
scoring
putting?
Averages are low, and they also know how to get the ball in the hole.
Yeah,
I mean that's the end game goal, right?
Yeah, I always love when you watch on tour and guy takes a swing and he drops the club, and I'm thinking like my miss, like, oh, that's 10 feet out of bounds, and it's just 10 feet on the green. He's upset about that.
Right. And I mean, those guys are phenomenal wedge players. So you get DJ, one of the longest players on tour. Well, if you're long, what are you going to have? A lot of clubs in your hands. You're going to have a lot of wedges in your hands.
Right.
Yeah.
So he took the due diligence of, I'm going to become a fantastic wedge player. So what did he do? Got himself a Trackman, and I'm assuming he just lived on it and just got to the point where he would hit it and go, you can probably see that right in the air and be like, how far did that go? 95 yards, 96. Okay.
Yeah, there's a really cool YouTube video, one of the TaylorMade ones where they put out where he's just guessing yardages like within a yard left and right.
Yeah. And that's the other thing that I think has changed the game is launch monitors. Now you can actually track that. Before it was feel. You get up there and hit it, and you get up and you'd see around where you landed the ball. Now you can sit in the range and you can make a swing, and if you do it over and over again, that went 95 and a half. All right. Then you pull out like a pitching wedge, you hit that and you're like 145, 144. So being able to track those numbers and keep yourself so dialed in has revolutionized the game, in my opinion.
So we had a lot of rule changes, a couple of years ago. Any of them you disagreed with, or any rule changes that you're hoping happen in the future?
As far as rule changes go, the one that would kind of maybe surprise me was the flag stick. I mean, some people love it, some people hate it.
Turned out to be a good idea for COVID, though.
Yeah, right. Was great for that. The ball drop is one that I'm kind of helter-skelter about. I don't know if I'm fully into being able to drop that from your knee.
You have guys bending over almost where it's 6 inches above the ground. It's like, hey, that was my knee. And yeah. I mean, you can get so much more out of this. Doesn't make for good radio, but from dropping at shoulder height, and the bounce, it might settle in some rough. Here, you can kind of just daintily just place it and go, oh, look at that puff lie. It's perfect. You could almost improve your lie.
Yeah. Well, right. I read too, like one of the guys was saying one of the reasons behind that change was when you're dropping from so high, you almost, especially if you have a little bit of a side hill, anything like that, you got to do your 3 drops because it goes back into the hazard or whatever. And so then you got to place it anyway. So that was almost to mitigate the amount of times that you would just end up placing it anyway.
Right. But see, I like the fact of, I mean, if you hit into a penalty area, I'm not saying you've already been penalized.
Sure.
But that's
you're
just
not supposed to get a great lie out of it.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, now if you do drop it from shoulder height and it hits a rock and then all of a sudden it sits up on this little tub, you're like, well, that's just a heck of a break, right?
Yeah.
Whereas now you can sit there and go, I'm going to make sure it hits that rock and it bounces forward. And then I'm going to make sure I hit it again. It goes this way. And then now by this time I get to place it right next to it. Because then at that point you can almost dictate where it goes. Because by the time you drop it that second time, then you're going, there's a little chunk of turf right there. Now I can drop it on. Whereas before it's like shoulder height, the chances of me hitting that rock and doing that 2 times in a row, so then when I drop it the 3rd time and then be able to place it, are quite slim.
Sure.
So I'm still going to try it.
What about a common theme we've heard is the hitting out of a divot in a fairway?
Oof. So
Max had a really good point of view on it. He said, if we rake bunkers to go back to the condition before you're in the bunker, why do you hit out of a fairway that wasn't like that to begin with?
I mean, I do like that, but that's also by you hitting it into a divot. That's a rub of the, in my sense, like the old saying, like it's the rub of the green.
Yeah.
So an interesting concept. When I was in China, we had and this is how like a lot of the caddies are out there. There's a drivable par 4 that had lakes around the green, and most of the guys wouldn't go for it. So everyone laid up to that 100 and 120 yardage, right? Well, wouldn't you know, you hit your shot out there, you get up, you get your yardage, you hit your shot, you take a big old beaver pelt. By the time you're walking out, you had somebody walking out from the trees. They would cut the divot out, pull that divot out. They would then put a new chunk of turf in. So guess what? There were no divots. And there's times where I hit my ball in an old divot that had been replaced by it. But they also had people like stashed on it. A lot of caddies would do that. They had pre-cut sod pieces in their pouches to where their player took a divot. They would just take a little knife to it and pull that out, and then trim whatever they had and put a chunk back in. So there were no divots on the golf course.
See, I think if you're going to do that, why can't you just move your ball out of a divot?
Right.
Well, but you probably hit it further than most people, so you're really not in many divots. So that's an
I'm hitting it to where it's really, really green and lush.
There you go.
No,
but those are trees. So.
Right.
No divots.
I could go both ways on that. I could see the whole fact of if I hit it in the middle of the fairway and it just so happens that I hit it into a divot, I get to pull it out and then do my little drop from my knee over there on the right-hand side. I could see that. I could. But, yeah, I don't know. That's a tough one. That is a really tough one.
I get
I like Max's answer.
Yeah, I get the heritage of it, but I mean, there's so many other instances where you get to improve your lie. Standing water,
right.
A cameraman's in the way. Like, there's all these other things that are not in the fairway that you get to improve your lie on. So why am I still being penalized in a fairway?
So then, if that's the case, is it only in the fairway, or is it through the green? Is it rough?
No,
there's so many questions.
Fairway. Yeah, I stop at fairway. If you find a divot in the rough, I got no sympathy for you.
But that's what I was going to say. If you find a divot in the rough, well, what happens if that rough is like 3-4 inches deep, and you're going, you know what? I'd rather hit it out of that divot, than be in the rough. So, do I get my choice? Granted, I get it. If you're in the fairway, you're going to bump it every single time and take it out.
No, I think I think the whole conversation stops after you leave the fairway.
No, I like that. No, I would like that. Don't get penalized. Like, if you hit it into a divot, you shouldn't be penalized for it, especially if you're in the middle of the fairway. It just so happens that you hit it where everybody else is. Well, maybe you should get in the gym and learn how to hit it farther.
So, since you're a distance guy, Matt, what are we doing with the future here? Are we how are golf courses or the game of golf, the body of golf, USGA, PGA, RNA, what are they going to do to defend low scores from you guys? And we can't roll back the ball. I mean, we can spend another hour on that, but yeah. What's your thoughts on that? How am I going to defend it against you? I'm a golf architect, and I see Matt Crockett, and I see him hitting it, carrying it 305. He's a pretty straight hitter.
I mean, you're gonna start seeing I think golf course design in general is just going to be different. You're going to have more bunkers placed in certain areas. They're definitely going to maybe start making fairways tighter, making the rough much more penalizing for hitting in it. You get the guys that are bomb and gouging it. Well, you got Dustin out there that's going to hit, we'll say, driver pitching wedge, driver gap wedge, because he's going to hit it down there and just have like something he's hacking out. Whereas you got Zach Johnson that's going to, he hits it 280, and then he's going to have his, we'll say 7 iron in, 8 iron in. Granted, phenomenal ball strike. You can't take that away from him. But how can you you got to level the playing field. Well, before it was all right, we're going to put this bunker out here at 280, 290 yards. Most guys are going to be rolling their ball into that bunker, or maybe let's say even flying it into that bunker.
Now everybody's carrying it by 30 yards.
Now everyone's flying it. So you can either add another bunker behind it, or adding other trouble, or you start, making everything choke. So the fairways start narrowing in. But honestly, I hate to say it, I'm almost positive that they'll probably end up doing that, the whole ball thing. I personally don't like that.
You think it'll just be for, yeah, go ahead, Mike.
I was gonna say it doesn't. You're still rolling the ball back for Jack Johnson too. You're not rolling it back for DJ, and that's it.
Yeah.
Right. No, you're rolling it back for everybody. But what happens when you're those guys? It's like basically going to the range and having range limited balls. You're gonna hit a ball.
Everybody on tour or everybody, like just one golf ball. You know what I mean? Like, are they going to roll it back for just the tour players? You have a ball that's specifically made for tour players, and they have to play this. You know, everybody else can play the Titleist Pro V1, and we're going to be all hitting at 300 yards, but roll it back there.
I mean, I think you'll get companies that'll come out. They're going to make like the golf balls that we have now. And this is actually an interesting question that makes my brain think. Get the golf balls that you have now, but let's just say you are playing in a tour event. Yeah. You're going to have to play if you are playing the Pro V1. There has to be like a conforming list, just like there's conforming wedges with conforming grooves and everything else. You can't play a set of irons from 9 years ago because the groove specifications are different. They're probably going to have golf balls that you will get at the event that you have to use, if that makes sense.
Boy, I hope not.
Now, I hope not either. I like hitting it far. I don't want to hit a golf ball and then all of a sudden see that thing apexing and all of a sudden it just stops. I mean, it's kind of funny going to a range where you have range limited balls and you know that the fence is like 280 yards and I hit my driver and it's like it goes and all of a sudden it just falls out of the sky. You're like, that is really, it just looks weird.
Yeah, but guys like you, that's a challenge to you. You're going to be like, I know this is limited range, but I'm going to smack it and it's going to go over that.
Oh, I'm going to try, but it's just going to poof. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the problem with any conversation about equipment is that you're not leveling the field, you're just lowering the field for everybody.
Yeah.
Right. But I mean, at the same time, you got guys now thinking about, hey, what happens if I put a 47-inch driver in play?
Right.
What happens if I put a 48-inch driver in play? You got to hit it straight. Well, I mean, guys were going the opposite, right? I mean, you have guys now that are playing a 44.5-inch driver. So they're going shorter because they hit it straighter.
Sergio played just over 43 inches for a long time.
Yeah. He's a phenomenal ball striker and drives it straight as an arrow. But now you got Bryson coming up who goes, I'm gonna experiment hitting a 47-inch driver or a 46-inch driver. I mean, and then he probably looked at it and goes, okay, what did I actually pick up? What was my ball speed pickup? What was my carry yards pickup? He picked 10, 15 yards up. What was my dispersion look like? Was it wider? Was it narrower? Did I have to put more into it? Was my timing different? I mean, that's why I think that he didn't pull it out for the Masters. He didn't have enough time for it.
Right.
But I do think that he will probably get to some golf courses where the layout, we'll say, is more traditional. You get more of like that, the north and south golf course to where, you know, you're on the first hole and number 9's on the right and you got number 5 on the left. Well, now I can hit it both ways. I can hit it left or right. I'm just going to hit it 385 yards. I mean, he's already been doing that. And he's doing that with like a normal 45-inch driver. But at the same time, his 45-inch driver, I want to say, has like 5 degrees of loft on it.
Yeah.
I think it'd be amazing if the tour brought half of the events overseas, add some weather, get all these Americans over there that are used to playing, you know, in prime conditions, put them on links, add some weather, then you'll see some scores, you know, go down.
It's crazy to see how the tour, how they, in a sense, chase the weather.
Yeah, they do.
And how good it always is. And I love seeing players go out and playing in windy, rainy conditions. It levels
so
the playing
tough
field.
In the wind.
Yeah. Then you have those guys that over in Europe that come over and play, and all of a sudden it just starts pouring rain and it's sideways, and they're like, this is like a typical day in winter for me. Like, I don't know what you got. I got my rain gear on. I'm set. Let's go. Whereas you have other guys going, like, I mean, I couldn't hang on to the club. The ball acts differently. I had to shape shots weird. Like, we don't normally play in conditions like this, but it levels the playing field.
I can't wait to see Bryson in next year's Open Championship over there, and I hope it's like a typhoon, and he hits the ball so high that he doesn't know how to hit it low. I mean, I'm sure he'll adjust. He'll figure out something from the time being. But add some weather, add elements, add bunkers, make players think. I think on the tee, make them question their decision. To me, that's really how you fight distance. I don't think you make a course 8,000 yards because then everyone's just going to be like, well, I have to be Bryson DeChambeau now, and bomb and gouge is back to it.
And I don't think they're ever bring back to the point where they're making.
I want to bring back ball striking, premium on ball striking, premium on putting.
What about it?
I want to bring it back. I want to put the premium on ball striking and putting and make those two aspects.
I think if you're gonna defend it against it, you just have to defend those tee shots. You can't do anything else because then you just hurt the shorter guys on tour.
And you are. I think a lot of the things that are going to happen too is you saw for the Masters this year, they got rid of the green reading book. They told them they couldn't have them this year.
Yeah.
A little bit different when you can practice putts where you're like, this is a 1, so it breaks this much. This is a 2, kind of like aim point. This is a 1 degree, 2 degree, 3 degree slope. This is going to break this much. So by the time you get up to the putt and you're like, okay, out of the homework, because we do go out there. They have the pin locations that basically in a sense where they're going to be all 4 days. Right. You know what we call the zero line, where that flat putt is. So when you do hit it to, we'll say, let's just say you hit it to 3 o'clock. Well, and if you hit it to 3 o'clock, on that pin, that putt is going to break the most right to left. I already know that because I've done the homework the last 3 days out here. I've been walking with my caddy and figuring it out. So I already know ahead of basically how these putts are breaking before I'm even up there. And that's what's so good about those guys out there is they're hitting it to certain quadrants. But I think maybe we'll start getting greens a little bit, like a little slopier. But in the end, you still got to get the ball in the hole.
Yeah, he's Matt Crockett, professional golfer from Phoenix, Arizona. Matt, thanks so much for joining us. When's your next game?
That's a good question. Honestly, right now, everything down here is kind of, with COVID going on, everything's just kind of shut down. Yeah. I hope to probably try to get something, maybe play an Outlaw Tour event here in the next upcoming weeks. Outlaw and Swing Thought kind of put something together. They got a good schedule coming up. So hopefully maybe the end of January, early February, I'll be able to get to playing something. Other than that, It's just skins games, trying to keep the game going.
Hey, keep us posted. Keep in touch, and let's follow back up with you, in a year or so, or maybe less, and see how you're doing.
Awesome, guys. Thanks for having me on.
Hey, take care, Matt. Rough Fairways is executive produced by Eddie Dunn and Mike Sells. That was a very insightful conversation with plenty to unpack. Our thanks to Matt Crockett for joining the pod. You all know the drill. Everybody, let's be kind to each other. See you next week.